Hey everybody. So I'm back one more time. Let's go ahead and move on to scene 5. Now, like I said last time, we have met our two major characters, our title characters, Romeo and Juliet. Let's finally get them to meet. So let's go ahead and bring up what we got here. Okay, so we're going to skip a lot of this first part here. So we're going to go ahead and skip a lot of it, basically down to about here. All this part up here is the servants talking to Peter and him kind of ordering them around and then getting mad at it. That's really all it is. Down here, the people have eaten and they've moved into like the dance hall. So in we have Capulet, Tybalt, Lady Capulet, Juliet, all the others of people that are at the party, and they come in, and also in comes Romeo, Benvolio, Mercutio, and the other guests and the other people in the mask. Now remember, Romeo, Mercutio, and Benvolio are all wearing masks. And Capulet says, "Welcome, gentlemen, ladies that have their toes. Ah, my mistress, which of you all, unplagued with corns, will walk about with you? Will now deny to dance. She that makes dainty, she, I'll swear, hath corns. Am I come near you now?" So he's like coming everybody in. He's like, "Ladies, all of you ladies whose feet aren't all jacked up, get out there and dance. And if you're not dancing, I'm going to assume that your feet are all jacked." And he sees the men come in. This is Romeo and uh, Mercutio and all that. "Welcome, gentlemen. I've seen the day that I've worn a visor and could tell a whispering tale in a fair lady's ear, such as would please. 'Tis gone, 'tis gone, 'tis gone. You're welcome, gentlemen. Come, musicians, play." So he's kind of seeing the boys come in, the young boys, because remember, they're all about 18, 19 years old. He's like, "I remember the days that I could wear the mask at one of these parties and go around whispering in the ladies' ears. But those days are gone. Welcome, come in. Musicians, play." The music starts playing and everybody dances. "A hall, give room, and foot it, girls. More light, you knaves. Turn the tables up, and quench the fire. The room has grown too hot. Ah, sirrah, this unlooked for sport comes well. Nay, sit, good cousin Capulet. For you and I are past our dancing days. How long is it now that last yourself and I were in a mask?" So he's making some orders. Give room, put the tables away, turn the fire out. It's gotten too hot. And he sees one of his cousins. And he's like, "Oh, come here, sit down, sit down. How long's it been since we were out there wearing a mask at a dance like this?" And the Capulet cousin says, "By Our Lady, it's 30 years. He's like, "I swear it's been 30 years since we were out there like this." "What, man? 'Tis not so much, 'tis not so much. 'Tis since the nuptials of Lucento. Come Pentecost as quickly as it will. Come 5 and 20 years, and then we mask." So he's like, "No, no, no, it hasn't been that long. The last time we did this was Lucento's wedding. And, that's only like it's been about 25 years ago." And the cousin says, "'Tis more, 'tis more. His son is elder, sir. His son is 30. So he's like, "No, it's been longer than that. Lucento's kid is 30 years old." "What? Will you tell me that? His son was but a ward 2 years ago." He's like, "Oh, it can't be that long. It's his son was just a kid not too long ago." So then we kind of move off to Romeo. And Romeo, looking around the party, has seen Juliet. And Romeo is looking across the party at her, and he grabs one of the servants. "What lady is that which doth enrich the hand of yonder knight?" He's like, "Who is that? Tell me who that is." The service man says, "I know not, sir." He's like, "I don't know." "Oh, She doth teach the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear, so shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellows shows. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers, make blest my rude hand. Did my heart love till now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night. So the big thing is you got to remember in this scene how hung up he was on Rosalind. He was so in love with Rosalind that, if you poked out his eyes, he would remember how beautiful she was. And there was never another woman as beautiful as her that walked under the sun since time began. So he sees Juliet. And he says, she shows the torches how to burn bright. She's so bright, she's so glowing that she's teaching the torches how to show light. She hangs upon the cheek of night like a jewel in an African's ear. Beauty too rich for you. She's too beautiful for this world. So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellows shows. So she's so beautiful, it's like watching a dove walk around with crows. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand. He's like, I'll watch and see when the dance is over where she stops, and I'm going to go over and touch her hand. Did my heart love till now? He's like, did I even know what love was until right now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night. He's like, my eyes were liars. I've never seen real beauty until right now. So Rosalind's thing of the past. Now he's seen Juliet. So, from across the party, Tybalt, who we'll remember from scene 1, has noticed Romeo, and he recognizes his voice. This, by his voice, should be a Montague. And he looks at his page, his servant. Fetch me my rapier, boy. What, dares the slave come hither covered with an antic face to fear and scorn at our solemnity? Now, by the stock and honor of my kin, to strike him dead, I hold it not a sin. So he tells the servant, he's like, go get my sword. He's like, what is he doing here with a mask on? Is he here to make fun of us and to make trouble at our party? Now, by the honor of my family, if I go over there and kill him, it's not even a crime or a sin. And he's like getting ready to go start something, and Capulet sees him and is like, what, how now, kinsman? Wherefore storm you so? He's like, oh, hold on. Where are you going so upset? And Tybalt says, Uncle, this is a Montague, our foe, a villain that is hither come in spite to scorn at our solemnity this night. He's like, Uncle, that man's a Montague. He's an enemy. He's here to mock us and spite us. And Capulet kind of looks and sees who it is. He goes, young Romeo, is it? He's like, is it Romeo? Tybalt says, 'tis he, that villain Romeo. Capulet says, content thee, gentle coz, let him alone. He bears him like a portly gentleman, and to say the truth, Verona brags of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. I would not for the wealth of all the town here in my house do him disparagement. Therefore be patient. Take no note of it. It is my will, the which if thou respect, show a fair present, and put off these frowns and ill-beseeming semblance for a feast. So Capulet's like, calm down, let him be, let him alone. He bears him like a portly gentleman. He's like, he's acting like a gentleman. And, to say truth, Verona brags of him to be virtuous and well-governed. He's like, apparently, according to the word about town, is that he's a good kid. I would not for the wealth of all the town here in my home do him disparagement. He's like, so if I wouldn't for all the money in this town treat him badly in my house. Be patient. Take no note of him. Don't worry about it. It's my will, if thou respect, to show fair presence and put off the frowns, and ill-beseeming semblance for a feast. He's like, so if you want to do what I respect, or if you want to respect my wishes, you'll stop frowning and stop acting the way you are, because it's kind of crappy way to act at a party. Now, Tybalt's not really going to like that. It fits when such a villain is a guest. I'll not endure him. So he's like, oh, well, a smile might, or a frown might not be the best thing for a party, but it fits whenever somebody like that is in my house. I'll not tolerate him. I'll not endure him. Shelby. So he's like, I'll not tolerate him. I'm not putting up with it. Capulet says, he shall be endured. What, Goodman boy? I say he shall. Go to. Am I the master here or you? Go to. You'll not endure him. God mend my soul. You'll make a mutiny among my guests? You'll set a cock-a-hoop? You'll be the man? So he's like, oh, he will be endured. He'll be tolerated. What, little boy? What do you got to say about that? Am I the master here or you? Oh, you'll not tolerate him? So help me, if you start an issue with my guests, you're going to be the one walking around. Like he's aggravated with it. And Tybalt says, why, Uncle, 'tis a shame. He's like, but we're being disrespected. This is shameful. What are we doing? Capulet says, go to, go to. You are a saucy boy. Is so indeed? This trick may chance to scathe you. I know what, you must contrary me. Married 'tis time. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me reread it, Shelby. Let me reread this one. So, in this, he's also talking like to his guests. So in this one here, so he says, go to, go to. You're a saucy boy. Is so indeed? This trick may chance to scathe you. I know what, you must contrary me. And he kind of looks over because he's talking to like 2 or 3 people at a time here. He's like, Mary, 'tis time. Well said, my heart. You are a pringcox. Go, be quiet, or more light, more light. For shame, I'll make you quiet. What? Cheerly, my heart. So he's talking to a few different people here, and he's like, you know what? You not going to contradict me. I'll teach you a lesson. And then somebody comes up and he's like, oh yes, it's time, it's time. So Capulet tells Tybalt off, runs him off. He's like, you go, you be quiet, or I'll make you quiet. And continues on the party. So the music plays again, the guests are dancing. And Tybalt's kind of off talking to himself. Patience perforce with willful choler meeting makes my flesh tremble in their different greeting. I will withdraw, but this intrusion shall now, seeming sweet, convert to bitterest gall. So he's like, all right, you know what? I've got to be patient. Patient perforce. I'm being forced to be patient with willful choler. He's like, just rage, like having to be patient, and just this rage, it's like it's making my flesh tremble. He's like, I will withdraw. I'll leave it here. But this right here, this little prank that he seems to think is so awesome, yeah, it's going to turn bitter for him later. And Tybalt leaves. So now, Romeo has made his way up to Juliet. And he takes her hand. If I'm profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this. My lips, 2 blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. So he takes her hand, and he's like, essentially like this, if I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine. He's like, if your hand is like this holy place that my hand is not worthy to go to, my lips, two pilgrims, two people that come to pray, stand ready to smooth that with a kiss. So it's like, if me taking your hand is not good, then I'm ready to kiss your hand and wipe that away. And Juliet says, good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much. Which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss. So she's like, good pilgrim, you don't give your hand enough credit. You're downplaying your hand too much. By holding my hand, you're showing devotion. For the saints have hands. The statues of the saints have hands that the people that come to worship do hold and touch. And pressing the palms against each other is kind of like a kiss. And Romeo says, have not saints lips and holy palmers too? So he's like, well, don't the statues of the saints have lips? And don't the people that come to pray have lips as well? And Juliet says, aye, pilgrim, lips that they must use in prayer. So she's like, yes, they have lips that they're supposed to pray with. Oh, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray. Grant thou, lest faith turn to despair. So he's like, well, then let our lips do what our hands are doing. Let me pray. So they're praying for me to be able to kiss you. Please grant me my prayer, or else I'm going to lose my faith. Juliet says, saints do not move, though, grant for prayer's sake. So she's like, the saints, the statues of the saints don't move, even when they grant the prayers. So she's kind of like, well, I'm not going to move, but I might grant you your prayer. Romeo says, then move not, while my prayer's effect I take. So he's like, well, then don't move, and I'm going to act out my prayer. And he kisses her. Thus from my lips, by thine, my sin is purged. He's like, so by your lips, by kissing you, you have taken away my sin. Juliet says, then have my lips the sin that they have took. So she's like, so you gave your sin to my lips? Romeo says, sin from thy lips? Oh, trespass sweetly urged, give me my sin again. So he's like, you got sin from my lips? Oh no, let me give it back to me, give it back. And they kiss again. She says, you kiss by the book, which means you kiss like you've studied how to kiss. Now that could be taken a couple different ways. One could be that he's really good at it. It's like he actually studied. Or it could be like there's no real emotion in his kiss, and it's like he learned it from a book. I would probably put it more in the first one, especially because at this point Juliet's 13 years old. She probably hasn't had much experience with that. So I'd give it that. Now in comes the nurse. The nurse interrupts the party. Madam, your mother craves a word with you. She's like, your mother wants to talk to you, and takes Juliet away. Romeo then turns to the nurse. What is her mother? Who's her mother? Mary Bachelor, her mother is the lady of the house, and a good lady, and a wise and virtuous. I nursed her daughter that you talked withal. I tell you, he that can lay hold of her shall have the chinks. So she's like, her mother is the lady who's running this house. She's a good lady, she's wise, she's virtuous. She's like, I nursed her daughter that you just talked to. And I'll tell you this, any man that can marry her is going to become very wealthy. And Romeo's figured out what this means. He knows whose house he's in. So Romeo kind of sang to a side, and he's like, is she a Capulet? Oh, dear account, my life is my foe's debt. So he's like, oh, she's a Capulet. He's like, my life is now in the hands of an enemy. Benvolio comes up to Romeo. Away, be gone. The sport is at its best. He's like, come on, let's go. We've got to leave right now. And Romeo says, aye, so I fear. The more is my unrest. He's like, oh, I have a feeling I'm more in trouble now than I've ever been. So they're getting ready to leave. Capulet comes in. Nay, gentlemen, prepare not to be gone. We have a trifling, foolish banquet for us. Is it e'en so? Why then, I thank you all. I thank you, honest gentlemen. Good night. More torches here. Come on then, let's go to bed. Ah, sirrah, by my fay, it waxes late. I'll to my rest. So the men are leaving. He's like, oh, don't leave, don't leave. And then they're like, kind of telling him, he's like, really? It's that late? I guess so. Go ahead and light some more torches over here. Let's go to bed. So everybody kind of leaves the party, and only Juliet and the nurse are left. And Juliet's like, come hither, nurse. What is yon gentleman? So she's like, come here, nurse. Who's that guy? The son and heir of old Tiberio. So it's like, that's the son of Tiberio. What's he that now is going out the door? So it's like, who's that guy? Marry, that I think be young Petruchio. So she's like, that one I think is Petruchio. What's he that follows there? That would not dance. So like, that one there, who's him? The one that wasn't dancing. I know not. Go ask his name. If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed. So she's like, go find out. And she's talking about Romeo now. She's like, go find out who that one is. If he's married, I might as well die because I don't want to marry anybody else. Nurse goes and finds out. She comes back. His name is Romeo, and a Montague, the only son of your great enemy. So now they know. And Juliet says to herself, my only love sprung from my only hate. Too early seen unknown, and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy. So she's like, oh, the only love I have is from the only man that I hate. She's Capulet, so she immediately hates Montague. So she's like, the only love I have is from the only person that I hate. I saw him too early without knowing who he was, and now I know who he is way too late. Love is a monster for making me fall in love with my enemy. And the nurse is like, what's this? What's this? She's like, what are you saying over there? Talking to yourself? Juliet says a rhyme I learned even now of one I danced withal. She's like, just some rhyme that I heard from somebody that I talked to earlier. And somebody calls off stage, Juliet, like calls her. And the nurse is like, anon, come, let's away. The strangers are all gone. And they exit. So that takes us out of scene one, or act one. So we're all the way through the first act. Romeo and Juliet have now met each other. They are both madly in love with each other immediately. It's love at first sight. Juliet so much that if Romeo had already been married, Juliet's like, there's no other reason for me to even think about marriage. I might as well die. Romeo has done forgotten every girl he's ever met, ever even thought of. So that's where we're at now. Now, all this so far has taken the span of one day. The day started with Romeo in love with Rosaline, so much so that when she wouldn't be with him, it's the worst thing in the world. By the end of the night, everything it's wonderful now because he's met Juliet and no girl's ever met her. We can kind of get the feeling Romeo isn't exactly thinking with his head here. And Juliet is young, she's naive, and she has fallen in love with this man. Now, again, remember our ages 18, 19-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl. let's keep that in mind as we move forward. Also, remember that this has taken 1 day of the play so far. This entire play takes course over about 5 days. So, 1 day. All right. So, let's take a look now at the assignment for the end of Act 1. So, let's see here. Okay. So, got 3 pages for scenes 4 and 5. Pretty simple. Scene 4 and C5, just give me a quick summary of what's happening. Remember, you can click in these and type. So look at those things that way. Some information about Mercutio. At the end of scene 4, Romeo has a premonition. Rewrite this as if it's a horoscope reading. I'll see if I can put something up on Classroom as for what horoscopes are. If you want to do this one, do that one. If not, and you don't right off know what a horoscope is, don't worry. Some questions over here about a line. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. Who says it? Who are they referring to? What does it mean? Things like that. So we got some questions here. Just answer those. Scene 5. I want you to try to write this as best you can in modern English. And the last one, just some information here. So summarize the events of Act 1 by picking a color, a symbol, and an image to represent this act, and then explain the symbolism. So pick a color to symbolize Act 1, all of it. So everything that you've read thus far. And then why did you pick that color? Pick a symbol. What is something that would represent, like an object that would represent that in this? An image, draw an image of it, or explain an image of it. Go there. And then some stuff about like puns. So 3 pages with this one. And then we'll get into Act 2 in our next videos. So I'm going to say over the course of these, I've asked about due dates and stuff. I'd say if you took a week to 2 weeks to do all of Act 1, you're doing pretty good. I would say if we were in class, this would probably take about a week and a half to get us this far into the play. So if you're watching the videos, if you watch one of them a day, I think I've done like 8 videos, tried to keep them short, and then do your other assignments as you're working on them, 2 weeks is more than enough time to get this done. And I'll be putting up the the scene 2 videos next week. So if you have any questions, let me know. kdalton@gilesk12.net. I'll talk to you. I'm going to set up a meeting and start trying to set those up at least once a week so that if you have questions, you can video chat in with me and talk to me. So there we go. Y'all stay safe. And that's the end of Act 1.